Alright, we've got two more speakers. The Pope remarked recently that atheism has led to the greatest forms of cruelty and injustice ever known. In the spirit of fair game, we've invited prominent atheist Ian Robertson, President of the Rationalist Society of Australia, to offer his response.
Hi. I've been asked to deal with the Pope's criticism of atheists. The Pope, Joseph Ratzinger, Il Papa, or as he prefers to be known, De Papst, God's Rottweiler. Provocative choice for a Pope. God's Rottweiler. If they were really serious about Jesus' message, you'd think the College of Cardinals would have chosen for Pope God's Dove, or God's Shepherd, not God's Rottweiler. After he was elected, of course, he called himself Benedict. From the Latin, bene meaning good, and dicte meaning to say. So Benedict means to say nice things, something the Pope has been conspicuously absent in doing. He wrote a letter last year to his flock. The idea of putting a Rottweiler in charge of a flock is a bit scary. It's called an encyclical. That's where the Pope lays it all out for the faithful, or in this case the hopeful, because it's called Spe Salvi, saved by hope. I like to call it the Pope on hope, has a nice ring to it. One of the good things about being Pope is that you're allowed to pontificate. In fact, you can't help pontificating. In pontificating about hope, the Pope's message is very simple and straightforward. He's got it, and we haven't. We haven't got it because, according to the Pope, you can only have hope if you believe in God. A world without God is a world without hope, he says in the encyclical. Man needs God, otherwise he remains without hope. And as a side there, it's very interesting that right through this encyclical, he uses the word man over 60 times to refer to the whole human race. And he only uses the word woman, once, and that's a quote from the Bible. So women are in Jesus' vocabulary, but they're not in the Pope's. Now, before you throw your hands up and say, what's this idiot talking about? Without God there is no hope. You need to know that he's not talking about Commodore Garden hopes. Like you hope you can finish your essay before Big Brother eviction starts. Or you hope you can get to the next service station before the petrol runs out. He's not even talking about big hopes, like a hope for an end in world poverty, or hope for peace in the Middle East, or you hope that Collingwood will win a flag before global warming wipes us all out. The Pope acknowledges these sorts of hopes. Day by day, he says, man experiences many greater or lesser hopes, different in kind according to the different periods of his life. But such hopes are nothing to the Pope. He's talking about a great hope, a hope greater than which there is no other. He says, when these ordinary hopes are fulfilled, it becomes clear that we're not, in reality, the whole. It becomes evident that man, sick, has need of a hope that goes further. It becomes clear that only something infinite will suffice for him. So according to the Pope, you're not seriously hoping until you hope for something infinite. But he continues, and here's the rub, something infinite that will always be more than he can ever attain. So it's not really hope unless you're hoping for something you can never get. Come on. We have a word for that, actually 2 words. Wishful thinking. Wishful thinking. This is the great gift that the Christian Church offers its followers. Wishful thinking. Hoping for something that will always be outside your reach. What is this infinite something? In the next section, Joseph comes clean. This great hope can only be God. So this is what his argument boils down to in his encyclical. God is our only hope. Therefore, a world without God is a world without hope. Neat. As atheists, we are by definition without God and therefore without hope. Hopeless. But it doesn't end there. Not only are we atheists hopeless, but also, according to Benedict, we're responsible for, quote, the greatest forms of cruelty and violations of justice. The Pope tries to nail this accusation on atheists by another piece of conceptual sleight of hand. He first describes atheists as an ethical philosophy. It's worth noting that this is a reversal of the usual Christian critique of atheism, summarised in the famous hypothetical sentence, "If God is dead, everything is permissible." Far from suggesting that the adoption of atheism means there is no basis for morality, the Pope suggests that a moral impulse actually lies at the heart of atheism. Now, to link atheism with moralism is trivially true. In a technical sense, moralism means the practice of a natural system of morality without God. But where the Pope is wrong is in making morality the origin and aim of atheism. The atheist enterprise is not ethical, but ontological. The atheist, almost by definition, is primarily concerned with what is, or rather what is not. And qua atheist is driven principally by concern for truth, not justice, as the Pope claimed. Then the Pope completes his conceptual legerdemain by sliding from the unexceptional descriptive sense of moralism, as morality without God, to an evaluative and pejorative sense, equivalent to moralistic, that is, having an excessive sense of the certainty of one's own moral position and a willingness to impose it on others by force if necessary. Now here's the fallacy. While it is true that some viciously moralistic people may have been atheists, Robespierre, Stalin, Pol Pot come to mind, it does not follow that all atheists are viciously moralistic. Otherwise we'd have had Bertrand Russell flying passenger planes into St. Peter's Basilica. We'd have had Richard Dawkins running concentration camps for Anglicans at Oxford. We'd have had Peter Singer setting up torture chambers for scientists to experiment on rats. Nor does it follow that all viciously moralistic people are atheists. If this was the case, we wouldn't have had the Inquisition, or the Crusades, or 9/11, or the Bali bombings, or the current Pope's refusal to endorse condoms to fight AIDS in third world countries. Long before atheism was dreamt of, religion has always led the way in being convinced of its own moral righteousness and being willing to impose its views on others by force if necessary.
Here, here. Yes. Here.